and salutations. Welcome to What is Good?
Greetings and salutations. I am the Ghoulfather at your service, and welcome to another episode of What is in the Box. And I've got a treat for you. The horror punk heartthrob himself, Robby Bloodshed. Hello, Robby.
Nice to be on here. It's good to finally be on here.
I know it's been far too long. Now, for any of those out there who may not have heard of you, if that's even possible, can you give us a brief history of the Robby Bloodshed as a band?
So I started it in 2010, in June of 2010, and our bass player Alex started it actually with me as the original. He was originally on guitar, but now he's on bass, and we've been playing more and more over the years. Started 2010, but I want to say it really took shape in like 2013, and that's 2014 is when we did our first national tour, and we've been touring since, putting out more albums and just upping the quality.
Now, my first experience with seeing you play live was in 2012
at Ghouls Night Out.
That was at Ghouls Night Out. Yes, that was in a different band. Was Robby Bloodshed as a band, but that was, you were around in 2012 as Bloodshed.
Well, oh yeah. I mean, 2011, we played at that same place, Dingbats, with Blitzkid, Crypt Keeper 5.
Right.
I have a really cool screen printed flyer from that show.
Mm-hmm.
And that was one of our first like real big shows, you know what I mean? And I went up, that was the second time I went up for Nosferatu with Blitzkid.
Is that, and were you on bass?
Yeah, for Nosferatu, yeah, I went up for bass on Nosferatu.
I think I've seen that video. Well, you've played with a number of bands.
Yep. Yeah, a lot of.
Do you want to rattle off just a few?
Trying to think what. I mean, we played with. Man, that's crazy. I mean, obviously, I played in Mr. Monster. We played with Mr. Monster. We did. We opened for Agent Orange before. We played with, trying to think some good bands that I could list off. Christian Death we played with. Doyle we played with.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, we did Doyle's first tour as Doyle, not Gorgeous Frankenstein. We did it as, that was at Brighton Bar in 2014. And that was actually a warm-up show for the first tour, real national tour that I did. And that was in support of Main Street of Betrayal. That was August of 2014. So yeah, we played with some big names.
And it's something that I thought was interesting. How do you get yourself hyped up before a show?
See, I don't drink caffeine at all, like ever. So before a show, I will drink caffeine because I don't drink coffee. I don't drink even tea, like for like throat coat tea. Like I pick stuff that doesn't have caffeine in it. But if I'm right before a show, because I'm so caffeine deficient, that will hype me up. And also I get into it like a mindset of like, I look at all the other bands and, when they're doing really well, I say, all right, I got to be on that level. I got to be, you always want to be the best. So I try to get into that mindset. I feel like friendly competition is good. You know what I mean? Yeah. Not when it becomes unhealthy, like when you start to self-sabotage, like, oh, this person can't be better. That's when it becomes a problem. But healthy, competition is great. I feel like that's what really drives certain bands, to want to be the best.
The one thing I've noticed about you, and I've been to, I couldn't even count how many of your shows, is that after you're finished performing, you always stay in the area and watch the other bands out of respect.
Of course.
Like you never disappear and wind up outside with the smokers.
It's really rude when bands do that. Even like the bigger bands that don't watch the bands that came to support you, at the show. Mm-hmm. I just find it very disrespectful. So I always make a point to try to watch everybody. I mean, there's been instances where you can't because you have to get ready, but I always, if I can, I will. All the time.
And so you have a number of albums under your belt.
Yeah, I got a lot.
Okay. But we're here to talk about specifically The Cabin. I want to put that out there. This is your latest release, and I'm going to go on a limb and say your greatest release.
Thank you. It was definitely
everyone gets a good look.
It was hard. It was definitely a lot of work. It was probably, I mean, running out of time was probably technically more work, but this one physically was more work in the sense of we did everything ourselves, and we went to, well, I'm sure we'll get into that later, but that we had to go to the Poconos with all of our equipment, with Mark and I's equipment, and recorded everything ourselves.
Well, let's get into it now. Why not? You've touched on it.
Yeah.
So you went about recording this in a different fashion.
Correct.
Go ahead, tell us that, because I think it's fascinating.
Well, with this album, we wanted a very big sound, and I feel like we achieved that. But how you could really get a big sound is to record in big places. When you record drums in a very small environment or without the proper acoustics, it shows on the record. So in December, I purposely, I talked to all the guys and they were super into it. I wanted to rent just a tall wooden cabin in the middle of nowhere, and we just spend a couple of days recording. And that's what we did. I found a cabin for a reasonable price in the Poconos of Pennsylvania. We drove 2 hours out from me back in New Jersey, and we brought all of our equipment. Mark and I have Mark's equipment is much nicer than mine, but I do have a bit of a home studio nowadays, and Mark has a really nice home studio. So we packed all of our cars to the roof, and destroyed everything: drum kits, guitars, a million microphones, computers, everything. And we just recorded for 3 days in the cabin, so it was a lot of work, but I feel like we got a pretty unique sound because of it.
Well, I remember something you mentioned to me about the number of microphones on the drums. Could you explain how many normally would be there and how many you chose to use?
Well, it really is dependent on the song and what the artist is trying to achieve. But with us, we were trying to achieve a really big sound. So I think we had 10 microphones, and 2 of them were room mics. And because it was a tall wooden cabin and there was a platform that above that's looking down at the living room where we did the drums, we put a microphone all the way up there facing the wooden panels of the roof or the ceiling. And literally all that did was capture reflections from the drums all the way up. And we also did another microphone as a room mic in the kitchen, and it faced the drum kit. And then we had just a bunch of microphones all over all over the drum kit, and it gave it a cool sound, a really big sound, which I love. I love on like punk rock albums and rock albums, just massive sounding drums. Like I don't want to hear on punk for the most part. I mean, there's exceptions, but like I love roomy big sounds, but that's what we did.
Well, some of your favorite bands I know are Queen and Danzig, and they're both known for a big sound.
Oh, absolutely. Danzig 3, the drums on that, and Danzig 4, so big sounding. And then like an album like News of the World or stuff like that. The drums sound so fucking massive. I love that.
And what was the effect on your guitars in an environment such as that?
It was spacier guitars. For this album specifically, I used only for all the rhythms and whatnot, except for a couple like clean sounds for the guitar. I used only the static H pedal that the Misfits put out.
We know about that.
And it sounded really cool. It's a beautiful fuzz. And there's a couple of songs. I mean, it's not going to sound exactly like Static Age because it's my songs. It's not Static Age. But if you listen, they're very similar in tone, and it's cool, But yeah, it gave a cool sound.
So we're going to dive in now. We're going to be doing a bit of a track by track analysis.
Cool.
because I love an analysis. So we're going to start Prelude to Darkness.
Yep.
Now, is this your first instrumental on an album?
I believe it's the second. The first one was a track I wrote called Achromatic Wings. That's on Dazzlin' Mad.
Mm-hmm.
But this is the first one. I feel like this is much more elaborate than Achromatic Wings. This was much, much harder to do. So with that, with A Prelude to a Darkness, what I did for that was the harp that you hear on that is actually a harp player from Brazil. Name is Mercedes. But how I had her perform the harp was I played what you hear the harp doing on piano. And then from that piano, recording it into the computer, I printed out a score of the notes. So what I played, I sent to this harp player and she played to the score, what I played on piano on harp. So she laid the foundation down with the harp after I wrote it. And then we layered everything on it. And actually with the intro, it was really cool with the drums. What you hear, if you listen with headphones, you could really tell there's actually 4 snare drums happening during that intro, each doing slightly a different variation of the drum roll that's going on that keeps the beat. So I laid the first one down and then I said, let's make this, let's make it really sound cool. So then I had Mark sit down and he came up with this like really cool, like rat-a-tat-tat on the rim of the snare into it. And then Alex was hearing something because Alex is a drummer as well. And he said, why don't you guys, why don't you do this? And then if you hear on the recording, especially on, I think it's in the right speaker, there's a phaser pedal on one of the snare drums, like a guitar pedal basically on the snare. And you listen in stereo, there's 4 snares happening during that intro. So there's a lot of stuff going on.
There's a lot going on.
Yeah. But it was very fun to do. I love experimenting with shit like that.
I thought it was a good way to open the album.
Yeah, because the intro opens with harp and whatnot, and it's very different from the rest of the album because it's a prelude.
You don't play harp, do you?
No. I'd love to learn, but no.
Disappointing. So now we're going to move on to track 2, and this is important. For those who might not know, Mr. Bloodshed started out very much horror punk. Would that be fair to say?
Yeah, of course.
But then there's been an evolution where you've branched out beyond the basic 1, 2, 3, 4, whoa, and into rock and roll and more of an arena rock, a larger sound. And this, to me, much to my joy, is a return to that horror punk roots, although more technical, more layers, more advanced, so to speak.
Absolutely.
And that's evidence on the next track. Oh, Take My Ghastly Hand.
Yep.
So tell us a little about the inspiration behind that one.
So that one, that was actually the first song written for The Cabin. It started off with just that intro riff. And then this was also a track that I wrote gravitating towards Mark's drums, because Mark, right before I wrote that song, Mark was telling me how much he loves playing what's called halftime. During it's like that breakdown type stuff, where the drums aren't playing like bop, 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 bop. They're doing halftime. And
Mark is an amazing, not to interrupt you, but Mark is an amazing drummer.
Phenomenal drummer.
He really is.
The best. Super underrated. He could play with anybody. But I wrote that, gravitated, trying to write around Mark, and then just evolved into what it was. Wrote really with that song, the lyrics was the first time I dived into perspective writing as well. What I mean by that is, I don't want to spoil anything, but like if you listen to like the first verse, that could be in first person perspective, and then the chorus is from like a divine being, it's not you, and then the second verse is a different perspective. It's almost like a story being told by different people throughout it, and that was a lot of fun to write.
There's a dark overtone through this entire album.
Yeah, I wanted that. It was a very very dark album. I wanted that, because in comparison to Running Out of Time. Running Out of Time, a lot of people thought was a bit more upbeat, even though if they listen to fucking Running Out of Time, the lyrics, it's a fucked up track. Same with like The Last Grin, Dying Is Easy. Like they're all, I don't know. I mean, I guess because of the vibe of the songs,
Yes.
like musically, they're more upbeat, even though it is not the most upbeat of lyrics. I mean,
Nope.
It's not, but I wanted a total contrast from Running Out of Time to The Cabin, and that's what I achieved.
You've never been known for happy lyrics, let's face it.
Yeah, no, not the happiest.
Although, I mean, this album, I mean, Dazzling Mad has always been my favorite as far as an album because of a number of tracks on there. But this one, whew, it's giving it to run for its money. But Running Out of Time, I go back to that one mainly for the guitars because I love your guitars. And
Thank you.
As every album goes, you know, I think it's fair to say, and I think you would agree, being such a music aficionado as you are, that different albums will have different ups and different downs. And
Absolutely.
I think Running Out of Time might have been your finest guitar work.
Thank you. Yeah.
Or most intense. Is that a better word?
I would say like there's a lot more leads and stuff on Running Out of Time.
I love the leads. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I could see that definitely. The Cabin, I feel, was more lyric oriented, and mood oriented. I don't know if that makes sense, but like there's definitely. But yeah, I would say that.
So we're coming to the next one, and this one is a little more upbeat. It's kind of got a bit of sci-fi going on there. Calling the Starfleet, and I thought that was unusual for you. So perhaps a little background on that.
That song simply, it's a letter to Brian May, because he likes working with really bad pop artists. So I was like, you know what? Let me write a nice rock and roll letter to Brian.
Oh, is that right?
Yep, that's what Colin, because he released an album called Starfleet with Eddie Van Halen in '84, and that was his first solo album. It was not really an album, but a solo single rather. So I wrote Calling the Starfleet as a letter for him. You know. Yep, that's what that is.
And that's one of my favorites, actually. So I beg your pardon. Oh, Razor! She loves when I do this. Could we hear a little bit of Calling the Starfleet?
I want to be a champion of the universe. I want to be a champion of this earth. I fight from the inside and can't be left behind. It's all or nothing. Give me peace of mind.
Oh, thank you. And let's talk about the video to that. That was your first adventure into animation.
Correct. Yeah, no, that was done by a woman named Sasha in Russia, and that she's an associate of Alexei, who did all of my recent music videos. He did, I think, all of the Running Out of Time ones.
Oh.
And he's done all of the ones for The Cabin. And he did our first music video together we did was actually recorded where I'm at right now in Hoboken. We did Step on Me. That was the acoustic rendition of that track. He filmed a music video for that. That was the first time we worked together. But yeah, that was the first time we ever did animation. I didn't want it to be because you know what, like now that I have a lot of music videos, I would hate to be the guy where it's like, oh, every fucking video is the same. So purposely, I don't want for The Cabin, each one is very, very stylistically different. Even though it's shot by the same guy, they're totally, totally different from the way he shot it to the way I planned, like where we were going to do it and how we were going to do it. So yeah, it's definitely, each one is curveball.
Like I'm old school. I enjoy when a band gets, I understand that it's a lot of work and a lot of money, but I like when a band gets a bit creative and it's more than just the band standing there playing.
Yeah, that nobody wants to see that. When
there's more going on, you know, especially when they're in a forest with nowhere to plug in and they're playing electric guitars. Oh dear.
Yeah.
And now we move on. Feline Fight.
Yes, that's a fun one. That one I wrote while I was on just a walk throughout some industrial areas near me. and I was reading. I was reading and I was listening to music, which I usually don't do because I don't read often. But I was listening to some cool 77 Misfit stuff with the keyboards, and I was listening to that while I was reading some Charles Bukowski poems. And there was this one poem I really loved by him called History of One Tough Motherfucker. And that poem inspired me to write that song.
That's quite a title.
Yeah,
That's quite
yeah.
a title.
And that's what that song is. I mean, like I said, it's not the poem for me. You know, I used that as a jumping off point, and I wrote real life experiences with the poem. You know what I mean? It's all different, you know.
And then, of course, another one of my favorites, Barbara, Board, and Nails.
Yep. That
Now, you've been I know that you're a fan of Night of the Living Dead, the original.
Oh, of course.
Okay, so is this a homage?
Oh, absolutely. This one was brought by Alex. He had the basics done, and then we worked on it together, and I basically, like, we morphed it to be a Robby Bloodshed song. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
He brought the basics to it, and we just worked back and forth on it, you know, like throwing ideas. And that's how that one came to fruition. That one's a fun one. I like that one a lot because it's a fun song. You know what I mean? Like, some songs are hard to play. That one, it's just fun.
What is one of your most difficult songs to play?
Probably Running Out of Time.
Running Out of Time. And that was the one. How many times did you have to play that when you made those custom records?
I think we did that one about 9 times, just back, and that's the hardest one to sing out of all my songs. Running Out of Time is the hardest one for me to sing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we did that fucking, I think, like 9 or 10 times, just back to back.
I know I have 2 of them. For those who don't know, I'm sorry, what was the name of the company?
Least of All Sound Recordings.
Right. Robby did these original recordings of his songs that someone could purchase and get a single of your favorite track. There were several that you had to choose from, and the band would actually record your own version just for you. And Running Out of Time was done 9 times in a row. So
you know, it's funny because they said, oh yeah, usually bands, you know, do about like 20 songs. So I was like, all right, well, put a cut at 20. But there was like 28 orders, so we had to do fucking 8 more than the usual. But which, you know, 28 songs. All right, whatever. Bands could do that. But it's within a 3-hour window, and that includes, in that 3 hours, setting up the equipment and whatnot. So really, it's about 2 hours worth of.
So you really have to just bang.
We literally. It's funny. At the end of the session, we were doing "Don't Lose Your Head," and like we only had like 2 minutes left. So I was like, Mark, fucking speed this one up. We gotta. we were playing it fucking at Earth AD speed at the end of the session.
And then we come. Now, Harlots of the Night, and I love that chorus.
Thank you.
So what's Harlots of the Night all about?
So that one was just a fucked up story that I wrote.
Indeed.
Sometimes I like to just write stories, and then I'll make songs based off the stories that I write. So Harlot of the Night was written about a satanic prostitute.
Oh,
and
I love this already. You continue.
And so the satanic prostitute basically gets revenge / just kills all of her clients. And it was, you know, it was a lot of fun to write because it's just fucking just a crazy story, you know.
That's not a good way to get repeat business. In that profession.
So it's literally, it's just about a satanic prostitute torturing horny bastards.
Oh dear.
So that's what that one's about.
I like it. And
but that one was fun to record because we if you listen to the drums, Mark and I wanted to get a little like experimental with it. So what we did was we taped with painter's tape, a couple nickels, like quarters, you know, like the change right to the ride cymbal. And when you hit it, it gives a sizzle. So if you listen real closely on the ride on that song, there's it's a cool sound effect on the ride cymbal. It's a sizzling fucking effect. So it goes like with the change on it.
And who came up with that idea?
You know, it's funny. Mark and I have weird telepathy sometimes. We both wanted to do something like that, except he had the idea of, because it's a known thing with they use the proper way to do it is with like they sell it at drum stores, like they're basically like little beads that you could put on. Like usually a lot of like jazz drummers use it, R&B drummers, but there's ways to get around that without having to buy it. So originally his plan, I think, was like like a toilet chain or something like that to hang around the ride bell, like to put like, you know, like in toilets, like it's a chain to lift up.
Well aware.
Well, we were gonna originally do that, but we were like, fuck it, let's try, because I saw other methods of doing it, and we taped on some change and it came out with that effect.
And now we come, I'll adjust my hat for this one, to my most beloved track. This was the first song of yours that I ever heard. And it's probably still my favorite track. And you decided to redo it, modernize it, and this is the classic Don't Lose Your Head. Now, how old were you when you wrote that?
Well, Alex really came up with the main bulk of that. But we did that together. We first played that when I was, I want to say 13 years old.
13.
Yeah.
And now it's been redone, and I think there's several versions out there, but I think this is the best version.
The other versions don't have the guys on it, and the other versions is just me playing it. So I was like, Mark and I mean, especially have been playing it fucking like every show since 2014, because that's when Mark and I started playing together. And I said, let's do it properly with Alex on it, because he deserved to be on it. And with Mark, because Mark's drumming is just, I mean, it's phenomenal. So that's what we did. We did a mono version of it with all, I mean, I didn't want to change it too much because it does have a sound that it needs, but I added a lot of the elements that we do today.
Now, what is mono?
I'm sorry, what?
Mono?
Mono. That's one speaker. I said modern.
Oh, mono. Oh, I'm sorry. I beg your pardon.
No, it's okay. No. Yeah.
So there's one lyric, and I have to bring it up because, as it says, when it says decapitation on my mind, like Morticia Adams with the rose. I mean, that's what, when I first heard that, I was like, that is brilliant.
That's
right
Alex. That's Alex listening or watching a lot of watching too much fucking
Morticia.
Yeah, Adam's Family.
Because everyone has seen that scene of her clipping the heads off roses. Have you ever not played that one live in a set? Has that ever been excluded?
I think only maybe once or twice, and it probably was because of time restraints.
Out of all those years.
Yeah, we always, that's usually a staple. It's usually a staple.
Now we come to Alone, which is a very strong vocal performance.
Thank you.
You're very welcome, sir. So what's a little bit about that one?
So that one came out, that one came to be, I caught COVID it was literally like 2 days after our vinyl session. And as soon as I got, I went for a rapid test. As soon as I got the rapid test, I felt something coming on, because I got it because people I was around had it. But as soon as I felt something, I was like, shit, let me go get a test. And I got it. I got the test. It came back positive. So I was like, fuck. I was like, I need to write how I'm feeling right now and record it vocally and keyboard and bass immediately. So on the car ride home, it's only like a 5-minute or 2-minute car ride home. I fucking wrote that in like 5 minutes and went in my basement, the home studio, recorded the keyboards, recorded the vocals, and recorded the bass to a metronome. And then at the cabin, I play drums on that one. I do the drums, and then there's one guitar track on that. I just do the guitar track. So that one's how that one came.
Now, The vocals on that one, what were those? Would you consider a difficult piece of vocal work?
No, that was actually easier for me.
Oh,
That was easier for me. That one I was basically trying to give, I guess I used for that song inspiration from like kind of like moodier, quieter rock tracks or punk rock tracks, almost like like an In the Doorway style song. Stuff like that. That's what I tried to use for Alone as a basis. I mean, it doesn't sound like that, but that's what I did try to use. Is like, I want to write a song in that kind of mood where it's dark, it's not upbeat. It has to represent what I'm trying to say well.
Now, is there a video coming out for that one?
That one is actually a double feature with Feline Fight / Alone, because they're both keyboard driven songs. I went to Brooklyn and with Alexi, and we filmed it really funny underneath this bridge, and people were looking at us like crazy because I have a bloody shirt on that says "Help Me." And
I've seen that one.
Yep. And so we did it as a double feature, Feline Fight / Alone. It's really cool to transition into one another. But there's a music video for Alone, correct?
Would we be able to? Oh, so no one has seen it yet.
It has not been released yet.
Could we do an exclusive sneak peek?
Let's do it.
We're going to do it. All right. So here on What Is in the Box, as usual, I'm bringing you all the inside scoop. Razor, can you give us just a little tidbit of the new video?
Catch it and it subsides. Fight it and hope you're okay. A blackness drapes my home and there's nothing left to say.
Thank you, my dear. Oh, and thank you for the exclusive, Mr. Bloodshed.
Yeah.
Now, we knew we were going to come to this one. My Hanging Age.
Yep.
Arguably the darkest track on the album.
Correct.
Proceed.
So that one, that was just, and again, it's a story, trying to write feelings and stuff into a song for other people to, I don't want to say latch onto, but I guess understand with you. And that's how My Hanging Age came about. I actually wrote that on the car ride home after a practice with Mark and a former guitarist that was barely in the band, but regardless, we practiced by Mark's, and on the ride home, we were just hanging by a fire pit afterwards. And I was like, "Fuck!" I was like, "I want to write a song." I'm like, Sometimes I get these creative moods. Sometimes, like if I'm in certain situations and shit like that, and that's how I wrote that one. I was feeling a certain mood. I was in a certain environment, and like I was like, let me verbalize shit, and that's how it came to be. I wrote that in the car ride on home. I write a lot of my songs before I have any instrument in front of me. Usually I just hear something in my head, and then I kind of just sing it into my phone. Then as soon as I get to a piano or a guitar, I finish it up.
Now, what usually comes first, the lyrics or the music? Is it like you'll write a piece of music and the lyrics
really
follow?
Depends. It really depends. Like a song like Fallen Heroes, that's
another classic.
Thank you.
Stop
that one
stop it.
That one, the chorus just was in my head, just singing Fallen Heroes. I was singing it in the shower, and then I wrote the music around that chorus.
Do you have a video of that? No. Sorry, ladies, and some of you gentlemen.
But yeah, that's how that one came to be. But then there's a track like Mainstream Betrayal, where I knew I wanted to write a song about that situation I was in, but the guitar riff came first. That guitar riff, and then everything was written around that guitar riff. So yeah, it really changes.
And we come to the end. So overall, are you happy with The Cabin? Because I know you're very critical of yourself.
I think that's my best work. Front to back, at least, it's the best. Sonically, too.
Now, there's another project that's very exciting that we can't talk about it just yet. But I think people are going to be very interested once it comes to light. Would you agree?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's it. And I hate to be so cryptic, but there are some things we can talk about. What's up and coming for Robby Bloodshed? Shows, events.
We have an awesome show that I booked
Right.
myself in Lodi, New Jersey at the Lodi VFW. That's November 6th. That's going to be a fucking fun show. We have Voice of Doom, another good punk band from the area, and this other guy, Tony Matura, who's an old school punk, who plays a really nice, like, I would say, like, it's like punk rock, like New York Doll style. Really cool stuff. He was around back in the day. He saw the Misfits open for the Damned in '79.
Wow.
So he's been around, that guy. He's really nice guy, but that's the lineup. And then we have my friend Jeff Frummis, who does They Came From Lodi, their stuff. He's going to be the MC of the night. So it's going to be a really fun night, and you never know who's going to be there. And it's Lodi, so it's going to be fun.
So, Robby, now that the cabin is out and everyone is enjoying it, what can we expect from Robby Bloodshed musically in the future?
So, we already are recording an EP for tour of May. It's already it's almost finished. And it's all really absurdly heavy metal, punk hardcore tracks that we've never done in the style before. But it's like the slowest track on it is the bonus track, or FAD. So that gives you perspective of what we're going at. It's real.
That's a totally different style for you.
Yeah. We're gonna do that, but we're not selling it online. No pre-orders, nothing like that. The only way people are gonna be able to get it is when we plan to do our tour. We're looking for May of next year. The only way people can get it is on that tour. And then also in the works is Mark and I came up with this great idea to next year, instead of releasing like an album, we're going to release singles. We're going to record it. We're just going to take it track by track. That could be vastly different, probably mixed by different people each one, and recorded in different studios each one. Just a really good single, and we'll be just recording and releasing singles throughout the year instead of an album. I feel like that's what a lot of bands are doing nowadays too.
I've noticed that too.
And I mean, I love albums. That's why I always do it.
I do too.
But it does make sense because, dude, fucking albums are expensive to record and mix. It's when you have a hit like that at once financially, it takes a lot out of you. But I feel like a single lucratively could be better. I mean, I'm not about the money, but I never want to give a lesser, I don't want to downgrade in quality because I don't have money, because I'm putting it into an album. So if I could, be smart about it and just record really good sounding singles and release it, that probably will be for the better. But that's the plan, to record. I was just actually finished up yesterday writing a song that we have a really cool idea to do a single for. And there's a bunch of tracks that I have written that are singles. You know what I mean? That we're going to be attacking. All different studios. We're going to be doing it, all different approaches, different mixed by different people who specialize in the genres that we're going to be going at. So it's going to be cool.
So there's lots of stuff on the horizon.
Oh, singles, the EP, tour. So there's a lot.
Well, I want to thank you so much, Robby, Mr. Bloodshed, for coming on What Is in the Box, giving us the lowdown on the cabin, available now. Do yourself a favor, pick it up. And I want to thank all of you for joining us. And as always, we may be freaks, but we are not alone.